What's going on, everyone? Thank you for stopping by my channel once again. Today I wanted to take some time out from studying for the MCAT to talk about the NSF-GRFP. The NSF-GRFP is a fellowship for those that are pursuing graduate research, right? PhD. It's one of the most, if not the most, prestigious fellowships you can get as a graduate PhD student. This is an interesting time, the fall, because those that are applying to graduate school, it's due in December, and then now if you apply to these fellowships, especially like the NSF, it's due, and I believe in October. And so I just wanted to give you some tips. This is not going to be intro into the NSF, although I'll post a link if you want to learn more. But I presume that if you're watching this video, you already know what the NSF is and what it entails. But basically put, it's just graduate funding for 3 years for PhD students. One thing I do want to say is if you're undergrad, listening to this video, I sincerely encourage you to apply before going to graduate school. So in other words, right now, if you're applying to graduate school in December, I highly recommend including the application to the NSF now. It's something that a lot of people, in my experience, only apply for once they're in graduate school, whether first or second year. But I sincerely think that you can apply now, and it will make it. There's tons of reasons why. But if you want to know, you can contact me. But seriously, if you're undergrad, I sincerely hope you can apply, because among other things, now with the new changes in the NSF, you can only apply twice, once as an undergrad and once as a graduate student. So, forget all the other reasons why I would say apply as an undergrad. I think now more importantly is just to get that experience, since you get that one chance as an undergrad. And so one of the things I wanted to sort of just basically go over is personal tips that I have. I've taught the last 2 summers. I worked for Stanford's summer research program, right, the Amgen summer research program. And one of the workshops that I've given is on the NSF and on the NSF-GRFP, the graduate fellowships, on what it entails and sort of how would I go about it. I was awarded it in 2016. And just a side note, I've always wanted it because in New York City, on the subway, they have the ads on the top. And in the ads, they would always show individuals who were New York City residents who won the NSF. And I always visualized myself being awarded the NSF. And I did, and it was a very happy time in my life, although I changed careers. But it was more important, it was important to me to sort of do my best, and I got it my first try. So with that said, here are some of the tips that I have briefly, and I'll post them in the description box as well. First things first, I recommend reading the entire solicitation on the NSF. If you go to the NSF website, they usually have a PDF document that entails what the NSF is, and it'll tell you exactly what you need to do. And it has everything from formatting requirements. It has everything from what access you would get if you awarded the NSF, not only money, but there's grip and grow, supercomputer access. I make all the students that I mentor read the solicitation because it will tell you exactly what you need to do to be awarded the NSF. When you're writing, so the component of the NSF is just, among other things, there's 2 things. You need a personal statement and a graduate research plan. And that graduate research plan is a theory, in theory, what you would propose to do as your graduate research in PhD, right, in grad school. And so one of the things I would recommend is being careful in picking your field of study. So you get to pick your study, you do your research plan, and you get to submit it to a field of study. When I did it, I was in the immunology program, but I submitted and was awarded the NSF for cell biology. And my advice is just be cognizant of what field you pick it. Not necessarily, you don't have to do the field that you're in grad school, but just pick the field that sort of is most relevant to it. Hence why when I was doing my project on reprogramming, I wrote it for cell biology. Another tip within the field that I highly recommend is I don't think you should do interdisciplinary research, because from my understanding, if you do disciplinary research, if you pick that field, you're going to get probably one for, like, let's say interdisciplinary between cell biology and immunology. You might get 1 cell biologist and 2 immunologists, or vice versa, or whatever combination. And I think that sort of just confuses things up, because my next tip is writing for the review panel. If you submit to something like immunology, cell biology, or genetics, you know who your 3 reviewers are going to be. But if you pick something like interdisciplinary, in my opinion, you run the risk of having 3 different reviewers that are sort of picking up different aspects of your research proposal. But again, write for the review panel, right? And write for them, right? Make it clear, keep it concise, straight to the point. But in that, don't be afraid to explicitly highlight certain things, right? And so my next step is explicitly highlight intellectual merit and broader impacts, right? When I was writing my statement, whenever I talked about an experience that felt on the either or of those categories, I bolded it, right? So I said, I co-author a paper, or I mentored a student, or I taught this class, or I presented at this research proposal, or I won this award. I bolded it, right? So feel free to bold, underline, italicize, whatever combination. It's making it easier for the reviewer. You have to get into the mindset of the reviewer. And these reviewers are scientists who also, in addition to reviewing the NSF, they're doing other things. So they're traveling to conference. They're going to different study panels. And so I presumed that my reviewer was going to read my application when he or she was going through, traveling on the plane. So by bolding, I wanted to draw that attention from the reviewer and just make it easier on them. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I can show you examples. But bolding, italicizing, specific examples of what they're looking for makes it easier for them. Another two tips that I have is when you write your NSF, right, you may be writing in a Word document. When you're ready to submit to the NSF portal, please convert that to a PDF and upload the PDF, right? I've mentored students where they've done the Word document and they upload it to the NSF, and the NSF has its conversion program or whatever the portal exceeds the formatting of the NSF. So if you have a document, your personal statement is supposed to be 3 pages, and you have it at the 3-page mark, if you upload a Word document, you run the risk of the NSF pushing it to 4 pages. And that can be a problem because that will lead to your disqualification of the NSF. So if you write your personal statement, have everything formatted correctly as the NSF wants, and you make it a PDF document and you upload it, that keeps it locked in its place and you won't run the risk of any conversion problems. Talking about locked, another thing is that when you order your transcripts from your school, please ensure that they are not locked. One way to do this, when you upload your transcripts from the schools you have attended, all you have to do is click view my transcript or view my upload, and if it pops up, then that means that your transcript is not locked. A lot of these schools for some reason lock the transcript where you only can see it or someone else or whatever reason. And I remember my student opening one day on her laptop, she was able to open it and she did not notice that in the title it said it was locked. So just be cognizant that sometimes these transcripts can be locked and you do not want to run the risk of having your application rejected because you have a locked transcript. Lastly, I would just want to say one more thing, and if you know my channel, you see where I'm going with this. I'm very big on living your truth. I'm very big on, dreaming big and not allowing your circumstances, your past mistakes to define what you can achieve. And the last thing I want to tell you as advice is tell your story. Shine, and please do not let anyone hold you back. I'm a bit, odd when it comes to, or different when it comes to this education. My parents didn't even go to high school. My dad dropped out in the 3rd grade. My mom didn't even finish the 7th grade. First in my family to graduate high school, college, and then, among other things, being low income. And when I got to Stanford, I was surrounded by people who also had their story, but they weren't like me. And I wanted this NSF so much that I wanted to tell my truth, how I got into science, how I loved reading, and the circumstances I transcended, And I found that a lot of people sort of were saying, oh, you're trying to create a pity story, or don't give that much detail. And the thing is, I wasn't even telling stories. I was just telling truths. I was the first in my family to, graduate high school and do X, Y, and Z. I was the first in my family to do this. I'm the first in my family to pursue a PhD, right? And so, I was just talking about real truths about myself. And a lot of people, whether they were jealous or not, or I'm not saying any of that, but for some reason they were telling me you're doing too much. No. In my opinion, tell your story. Do not let anyone hold you back. And of course, when you're giving your statements for everyone to review, some people are going to tell you, oh, include this or don't include this. You're going to have different opinions. Remember, you're the captain of your ship. You have to create the best story that you want to create. Think about your application. Think about what you want to communicate to the review panel and why they should fund you, and create that narrative. So a lot of people were telling me, Sean, don't include your intro. And I was like, no, this is who I am. This is what I am, and this is who I represent. And everything that I put here, especially as working with underrepresented, disadvantaged students, that's really who I was. And so I was not going to lie. I was not going to sort of limit myself because of how you felt. And I will tell you, all 3 reviewers that reviewed and gave me the NSF love that part when I told them the truth. So tell your story. Please do not be unafraid to talk about how you overcame, what you overcame, and how you made it to where you are right now, because you have to live your truth, right? Because among other things, you never know who you're inspiring by telling your truth. And that's the reason why I created this YouTube channel. That's why I talk about my failures. And in the book that I am writing, I talk about that a lot. So best of luck. Salute to everyone applying for the NSF. If you need help, I'll be more than happy to read your personal statement and stuff like that. Email me. I know it's due in about a month. Best of luck. I salute all of you. And if you're not applying to the NSF now, or you're doing it in the future, or you're just watching my videos, I sincerely thank you for another view. And with that said, if you have any questions or concerns, hit me up.